Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of Before You Say I Do by Marina Hanna. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue, Emma. Wednesday afternoons are always slow, and on occasions like this, I like to entertain myself by eyeing up the candy until my shift ends at 4 o'clock. Despite being regularly hit on, I don't ordinarily draw from the pool of guys that come into the bar. But I haven't had sex for over a month, and my dry spell has me wanting to scratch that itch. You could say I'm desperate. I don't want to waste my time using an app for a hookup. I prefer to see in real time, in the flesh, what I'm getting. I have a few hours before I need to be at the college campus near Covent Garden for my once-a-month on-site lecture. Enough time to take someone back to my place and treat myself to a little rough and tumble. It's slim pickings, more females than males, but there is one guy who grabs my eye. Tall, athletic build, dark brown, unruly hair, model handsome. I continue to glance over at him, and when I catch his eye, we exchange a subtle smile. His eyes study me approvingly, letting me know he's interested. He leaves his friends and strides toward me confidently. He rests his forearms on the bar and waits for me to finish serving another patron. I sashay towards him with my sultry smile plastered on my face. Hey, what can I get you? He leans in, his enticing whiskey eyes have a zealous hint, and in a low voice he says, "You can get me hard just by looking at me." My tongue glides along my bottom lip. The heat between my thighs has me ready and eager. I think I've chosen well. Would you like some help with that? My shift ends in 20 minutes. As soon as I close the door of my apartment, I drop my bag on the floor, kick off my shoes, and lead him to the living room, where we both start frantically undressing, discarding our clothes without a second thought as to where they land. "Fuck, you're so hot," he says as our lips crush together hungrily. "And you're so hard," I say as my craving for cock has me getting on my knees and licking his engorged flesh from its base to its tip. His groans are low and gritty as I take him in my mouth. Slow and easy at first, as his moans and gentle thrusts make my nipples hard. His hands go to the back of my head, intending to set the pace and speed up his thrust, but I pull away, releasing his shaft with a pop. "What the fuck?" "I want you to fuck my pussy, not my mouth." I grab his hand and lead him to the bedroom, and we fling ourselves onto my bed with eagerness and excitement. The open blinds let the daylight filter into the room, and my eyes take in his perfectly chiseled abs. He straddles me, making promises. "I'll fuck your brains out. Don't worry about that." His teasing fingers circle my clit while he's simultaneously sucking my breasts, flicking my hard nipples with his wet, pointy tongue. I place my hands on his chest to stop him. His eyes are confused. I reach over and open the drawer of the nightstand, take out a condom, and hand it to him. His mouth quirks in approval. He rips the packet open and shoots himself. "No more Mr. Nice Guy," he says as he grabs my legs, rests them on his shoulders as so I'm spread wide open for him and waste no time slamming into me. He's pounding into me, my core pulsating with pleasure as he drives into me. Oh God, that's so good. Yeah, keep telling me how much you love it. My lustfulness has me writhing below him, and when he releases my legs, I wrap them around him, moving my hips, grinding into him, arching my back, chasing my orgasm as his hips thrust harder. Jesus, you're fucking phenomenal. And your cock is awesome. His breaths are coming hard and rapidly, and my chest is heaving as I reach my plateau. Oh God. With one final, deep thrust, he releases a primal groan and collapses on top of me. After a few seconds, he rolls off of me, leans up on one elbow, and looks down at me as I lie, catching my breath, relishing in the aftermath of my orgasm. "Wow, you sure are something else," he says, and leans in and kisses me, slow and soft. Oh, fuck. I throw the sheet back and climb out of bed. I retrieve his clothes from the living room, bring them to the bedroom, and place them on the bed. "Bathroom is that way. You can have a shower if you like before you leave." He looks at me bewildered. "You're kicking me out?" "I wouldn't call it that exactly. We've accomplished what we both wanted. No need for you to stay over. I don't require the pretense of this being more than one night. What makes you think I don't want to see you again?" At the risk of showing my soft side, I sit on the edge of the bed. "Here we go again. the most overused phrase in the history of mating. It's not you. It's me. You seem like a decent guy, and the sex was great. It was spontaneous, fun, and oh, so good. And I thank you. But I'm not in the right place at the moment to do relationships, and if we do this again before you know it, that's what it will become. He accepts my explanation, stands up, and gets dressed. It's okay. I get it. There's no bitterness in his voice, perhaps a light trace of disappointment. We head to the living room where he finds his sneakers and slips them on. When he gets to the door, he opens it, turns to look at me, and says, I don't even know your name. I need to know the name of the woman who's given me the best sex I've had all year. A smile spreads across my face. I can give him that. It's Emma, but it's only April. The year isn't over yet. He steps towards me, his lips locked in a grin. Great to meet you, Emma. I'm Rob. He leans in and places a gentle kiss on my cheek. It's been great meeting you too, Rob. He walks out with a satisfied smile on his face, closing the door behind him. My phone beeps with a text message, and I dash back to the bedroom to retrieve it from the nightstand. It's Mia, with our agreed 2-worded check-in. Safety check. I type out my reply. Thanks. All okay. Deed is done. He's just left. Chapter 1. Liam. My eyes are glued to the blonde mixing cocktails. I'm fully concentrated on her curvaceous body. I don't fail to notice the jiggle of her voluptuous breasts as she blends the drink in the cocktail shaker. Hey, Dylan says as he greets me with a pat on the back. Enjoying the view? Sure am. You took your time. What are you having? Scotch on the rocks. Once she's finished serving, I get her attention with a wave of my hand and she saunters over to us. What can I get you? My good friend would like a scotch on the rocks. Coming right up, would you like a top-up? I'd like your phone number. I notice the slight smile on the edge of her lips. We've had this discussion. I don't date customers. My reply is instant, my voice smooth. Who said anything about a date? I don't sleep with customers. I waggle my brows at her. Who said anything about sleep? A grin curls her full lips, and her crystal blue eyes gleam with interest as they hold mine. I'm on tenterhooks, awaiting her reply, my eyes glued to her face in a feral state. Well, if we're not going to date, and we're not going to sleep, what else is there? She turns her back on us to make up our drinks. I notice the pure look of amusement on Dylan's face as he attempts to hide his smirk. He's enjoying watching her make me work for it, but I will succeed in getting her to give in. He knows it. I know it. She knows it. The best things in life are those that don't come so easily. She returns with our drinks and places them in front of us. She sidesweeps her lustrous locks over one shoulder, leans forward directly in front of me, and puts her elbows on the bar, rests her chin in her palms, her low-cut top giving me a glimpse of her ample cleavage as she pushes her tits together. And although it seems like a casual movement, it's anything but. When our eyes lock, her steady gaze seems to have me momentarily transfixed, and a spark of excitement flashes between us. Dylan clears his throat, which brings me out of my hypnotic state, but I continue to try and get her to accept my offer. How about coffee? She's non-committal. Dinner? How about I take you to dinner? Well, fuck me. Now I'm clutching at straws. I just want between the sexy blonde's legs. I want to make her beg for it before I sink into her. I want to watch her tits jiggle as she rides my dick, like they do when she's shaking up the cocktails. What I do not want is a romantic dinner for two. Clearly, I must be desperate for this particular woman. Dinner. She gives a one-shoulder shrug. Okay. My eyes immediately dart up in surprise at her agreement. On one condition, she adds, I choose the restaurant. Sure, no problem. Wherever you want. Now, can I get your phone number? She pushes herself off the bar and holds out her hand for my phone. She dials her own number and hands it back to me. I'll text you tomorrow with a date, time, and place. You get one chance, so if you can't make it, tough luck. And it's Emma, in case you were wondering. Great. Can't wait, Emma. She angles her head to one side. Her eyes fix me with a questioning look until I catch on. It's Liam, in case you didn't know. Her mouth eases into a smile as she shakes her head in amusement. Good to see you, Dylan. Say hi to Mia. I take a sip of my drink, my appreciative eyes following the sway of her hips as she sashays off to serve other customers. Dylan takes a gulp of his scotch to try and stifle his amusement as I suddenly catch on to what she just said. My surprise has me growling out my words. How the fuck do you know her? She's a friend of Mia's. For fuck's sake, I've been busting my arse for weeks and all I had to do was ask Mia for her number? She probably wouldn't have given it to you. Why the hell not? I'm a great guy. I'm fun to be around. A good time is always guaranteed. Shall we get down to why we're actually here? He says, shaking his head. I reluctantly take my eyes off Emma and turn to Dylan. I wanted to whine about the fund. My father seems to think he can alter the terms. I noticed the change in his face from amusement to curiosity. How exactly? He wants to increase the maturity date. He's baiting you. He can't do that even if he wanted to. It's set in stone. You told me yourself that your grandfather made it watertight. You'll get full control in another 5 years or when you get married, whichever comes first. You know this. You studied law. Why are you so anxious to get hold of the money anyhow? It's not as if you're destitute. You're doing pretty well. You know me. I don't like anyone controlling me. It's just another way for my father to try and have me in his clutches. Try and convince me to join the family business, and you know how boring I find the law. I did what was required of me as the dutiful son. I went to law school. I never agreed to join the family firm. Zach's doing a rather good job on that score. I'm pretty content with how things are. It allows me to travel to France more regularly. Talking of business, I have an investment opportunity that's fallen into my lap. It involves being landlords, and I think it would be a good fit for Cresswell. He takes another sip of his scotch. I'm listening. He gives me a clipped nod to continue. I'm not sure why I pursued Emma so relentlessly, but my stubbornness has paid off. She texted me the next day, just as she said she would, but she made me wait a whole week for this date, and waiting is not something I'm used to. As arrogant as it may sound, usually women bite my hand off. They don't wait. They worry that I'll lose interest if I have to wait too long. I know what she's doing. It's easy enough to have sex with someone out of attraction. By making me wait it out, she's ensuring I want it even more. She's letting me know she's the one holding all the cards, which makes me admire her a little more. She's booked a table at a restaurant in Covent Garden with a modern European menu. She's late. I get it. Women's prerogative. Don't ask me why, but it seems I'm impatient when it comes to this woman. I sip my scotch as I wait. Finally, I spot her across the room. Escorted by the maitre d', she's slowly walking towards our table, hips swaying. Her long, lustrous blonde hair tumbles down her back. I'm used to seeing her in jeans when she's working behind the bar, but the slinky black dress she's wearing now that seems to marry all her curves together with such elegance has the bulge in my pants throbbing. The silver necklace that adorns her neck has a sparkling blue pendant that drops strategically in the crevice between her ample cleavage, right where my tongue wants to dip and make wet trails, ready for my cock to fuck her tits, and she hasn't even sat down yet. Fuck, I'm done for. The prolonged anticipation is almost unbearable, and when she reaches the table, I stand, wanting desperately to kiss her on the cheek, anything to touch her. But I don't get the opportunity as the maitre d' pulls out her chair. He hands us the wine and food menu and leaves us to decide. I can't keep my eyes off of her. You look stunning. She flutters her lashes at me. Her eyes glow with promises. Her soft pink lips almost hypnotize me as she speaks. Thank you. I clear my throat. Great choice of restaurant. I've never been here. Oh, you're going to love it. The food here is to die for. I come here once a month as a treat. Does she bring other guys here? If she does, why does it bother me? I usually come on my own or with Mia. Why am I relieved to hear that? I ignore the mocking voice inside my head. She won't be coming on her own tonight if I have anything to do with it. Why are you looking at me like that? How am I looking at you? I ask. Like you've been starving yourself all day so that you can have a feast this evening? Her crystal blue eyes are filled with such suggestiveness, she almost disarms me. Slowly, my gaze drops from her seductive eyes to her sensual mouth, and her glossy pink lips to her voluptuous breasts. As my cock twitches, I have to fight my overwhelming need to drag her to the lavatory this instant, pin her against the wall, lift her dress, hold her legs around my waist, and fuck her hard and fast. I clear my throat. There's no tenderness. My voice is deep and guttural as I issue my instruction. Let's order. I detect a slight flash of humor as it crosses her face. She knows very well the effect she's having on me. We open our menus, and once we've both decided on our food choice, Emma studies the wine list carefully. Can I make a suggestion? Sure. The Chateau du Mont Shiraz would go perfectly. I'm caught by surprise with her choice, but secretly pleased. I couldn't agree more. I glance at her, utterly enthralled. Once we've ordered, the server returns with the wine, proceeds to pour a small amount in my glass, but I defer to Emma. Please, let me know what you think. She picks up my glass, subtly sniffs the wine before resting the glass against her alluring lips. When they part, her mouth curls around the rim. Christ, I want that mouth wrapped around my throbbing cock. Her eyes close as she sips ever so elegantly and swallows, savoring the taste of the fruity, dry wine as it travels down her throat. She puts the glass down and gestures to the server to top up our glasses. He sets the bottle down on the table once he's done, and we're left alone. I'm feeling like a goddamn schoolboy out on a date with his first crush. My mind is practically in the gutter. Determined not to ruin this evening, I grab my glass and take a much-needed drink to settle me. There's so much more to this woman than I anticipated, and I'm going to make it my mission to discover every little thing about her, including the sound she makes when she's bursting with pleasure as I bring her to ecstasy. How do you know so much about wine? Although there's a strength in her face, I notice there's also a softness as it lights up at my question. It's as though she's surprised I'm showing an interest. I'm currently studying for my diploma to be a sommelier. At this point, I'm pleasantly impressed, not only by her gorgeousness, but also her studious ambition. I recognize the strong passion she has for wine, which comes through loud and clear as she tells me of her plans. There's nothing sexier. It seems there's more to you than your quick wit, pretty face, and knockout curves. Amusement flickers in her eyes, and there's humor in her voice. Don't sound too disappointed. Trust me, I'm anything but disappointed, I reply with pulse-pounding certainty. Our food arrives, but it doesn't stop the conversation. We talk between mouthfuls of food and laugh between sips of wine. I have to say, the food is good. I think I found another favorite place. She waggles her brows at me. Just remember, I found it first. I'm hardly likely to forget this date. I continue to cut my food and fork a mouth-watering piece of steak into my mouth. The corners of her mouth curve into a soft smile as her baby blue eyes shine with approval. What's your story? Not feeling the need to hide anything from her like I usually do with women I don't intend to have a relationship with, I finish my mouthful and answer honestly. I study law. My father's a lawyer. My older brother Zach is a lawyer. I never figured you for a lawyer. I'm silent for a moment as I watch her push more food into her fork and past her lips. There's something inherently seductive about how her mouth opens to take the fork, then closes around the prongs. Something arousing about the way she slides the fork between the seam of her lips. Finished with my meal, I place my knife and fork down, sit back and ponder with curiosity what her initial impression is of me. Why not? She finishes her mouthful before replying. You seem too easygoing, not the playing by the rules kind of guy. You are correct. I'm not a lawyer. That is to say, I don't practice law. I did my dutiful son bit and went to law school, but it's not where my interests lie. Her eyes are filled with intrigue. So what do you actually do? I'm a venture capitalist. Amongst other things, Dylan and I have a company together as well as our independent ventures. I don't comment my passion for wine. I hid my sheer delight when she suggested the Chateau du Mont. How did that go down with your father? Was he disappointed? At first, but he's gotten over it, I think. We don't see eye to eye very often. I steer the conversation back to her before she has me spilling all my secrets. What do you intend to do once you've gained your qualifications? Ideally, I'd like to go to France. This wine we're drinking, she twirls the stem of her glass, is from the Loire Valley, Anjou to be precise. I don't know why I'm surprised by her knowledge, but I am. Chateau Dumont was an old family-run winery, but when the matriarch passed away, the son didn't want the burden, so he sold it, lock, stock, and barrel. And in the 4 years since, it's really thrived. I could go on and on about the grapes, but I won't bore you. I'd like to do one of those wine tours around Chateau Dumont, maybe even spend a season grape picking. Most wineries are commercialized with minimum personality. That's why I like the sound of Chateau Dumont. Not much is known about the new owners, but I suspect they love wine. If they were in it for a fast buck, they had invested in an already thriving winery. Chateau Dumont had to start afresh. Its sales were dwindling. You have to be in it for the long haul. So you see, it's a labor of love. That's why I'm certain whoever bought it must be passionate about wine. Sounds like you know your wineries. This particular wine. I hold my glass up to eye level and swirl the liquid by the stem. It has an intense flavor. Smoky accents, sweet spices. It's one of my favorites. Huh, you know your wines too. I thought you'd be a strictly spirits kind of guy. A good malt whiskey is all well and good at the bar or at home after a grueling day, but with dinner, I much prefer a fine wine. I have to admit that this has to be one of the best evenings I've had with a woman in a long time, and we haven't even fucked yet. Once we've finished our food, the idea of getting her naked is all I can think about. I want to rip that dress from her body. I want to cup her breast with my hands and bury my face in her cleavage. My cock wants to bury itself in her warmth. We need to get out of here now. Would you like dessert? I ask, hoping it's a no. Fuck, say no. She rests her forearms on the table and leans in so her dress reveals even more of her cleavage, and in a low, sultry voice she says, I was hoping for something calorie-free, something to savor, something to suck on and lick. It seems that we have more in common than just a penchant for fine wine. My gaze lingers on her face, then my eyes hold hers. There's a seductiveness in her look. She quirks a brow. Oh, and what is that? Sex, she chuckles. We haven't had sex. Yet, but here's the thing. What we have in common is the desire to copulate together. I've never quite heard it put like that before. I can say it any way you like. It won't change the fact that I want to fuck you and you want to fuck me. Let's get out of here, she says, her voice smooth like syrup.